Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the Cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, finding relief. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and check out the sale on Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. So, Bitcoin is now approaching $22,000. We're currently sitting around 21.6K. I want to talk about a few different things going on in the market right now, maybe some areas to look out for. Now, the first thing that we should talk about, and this is something we've actually mentioned many times before, and it remains to be seen if this is the relief that we're actually looking for, because there's a difference between like Bitcoin pumping 5 or 10% and Bitcoin pumping like 20 to 30%, right? But with that in mind, one of the things we've talked about a lot before is that whenever Bitcoin does find relief, we ideally would like to see the dominance of Bitcoin go up. Not necessarily just because just because I only want to see Bitcoin go up. It's just a sign of a healthy market, because the higher the dominance goes up, then later on it gives more room for the dominance to go down and for altcoins to run once again. So when we talk about these relief rallies, and hardly this is a relief rally at this point, but when you think about Bitcoin moving higher and whenever it does find relief, one of the things to really watch for during that time is for the dominance of Bitcoin to go higher. And what I mean by that is, if you go look over here, you can see this is the Bitcoin dominance. We've talked about the dominance quite a bit on this channel, and generally the idea was that we would be ultimately coming up here, putting in a higher low. That happened. We came up again. We pulled back again, all the way from 48% down to 43%. And I'm again dubiously speculating, of course, that we will in fact see a higher low, and that the dominance is primed to ultimately head much higher than it is right now. Now, one of the things I think to watch for in this rally back up is that 200-week moving average. And the reason for that is because for the first time, Bitcoin finds itself really spending a decent amount of time below its 200-week moving average. Okay, so for instance, we spent a little bit of time over here, but these are mostly just wicks, right? I mean, we didn't really spend a ton of time. In this situation, we actually have been spending some time below the 200-week moving average. We've actually been below it for a number of weeks now. So I would keep an eye on that moving average. That's currently at around 22.6K, so about $1,000 higher than the current price for Bitcoin. So I do think that's at least worth watching. And remember, as you continue to watch this, this move to the upside, assuming it continues, I would watch that dominance. It's a good thing, in my opinion, on the macro scale if we can see that dominance ultimately head much higher and then level off for a bit in preparation for the next bull run or the next market cycle. Okay, so the other sort of some other areas that might be worth looking at are things like the bull market support band, the 20-week SMA, the 21-week EMA. They're currently ranging from around 32K to 33.6K. So seems like we're a world away from those levels, but they are coming down relatively quickly. And then, of course, the other thing to remember with regards to these, with regards to the bull market support band, is that whenever it goes into the regression band, you actually have a better chance of getting back above it. However, I would argue that a more reasonable area would be to look for when the bull market support band reaches the fair value of the logarithmic regression curve. Okay, so it's coming down relatively quickly, and that's where I would start to get a little bit more optimistic on a more sustained breakout, or at least entering into a longer accumulation phase. When you go into a longer accumulation phase, you can kind of go above it, go back below it, and it's not really that big of a deal. But then at some point, you want to get back above it and hold it as support. And then finally, I think the other area to watch, in this environment is that 200-day moving average. Okay, so we talked about the 200-week, we talked about the 20-week, and the 21-week EMA, but the 200-day is a force to be reckoned with in a Bitcoin bear market. As I've said before, everyone has a plan until Bitcoin gets rejected by its 200-day moving average. And this has been a moving average that we've seen Bitcoin get rejected by a number of times in prior bear markets. And I don't know if you guys followed this channel earlier in this year, but we talked about, the idea of putting in a low, a higher low, a rejection off the 200-day, and then that failure to put in a higher low, followed by a lower low, and then a rally back up to the 200-day moving average. And we were actually following this pattern quite well for a long time, right? We had that low, we had the higher low, a rejection off the 200-day, a failure to put in a higher low, and then we put in that lower low. And then instead of going back up to the 200-day, we basically had a small rally back up to 32K, and then we just fell off a cliff, right? So, but it doesn't really discount that the 200-day moving average is in fact still there, right? I mean, it's still coming down relatively quickly, and that currently sits all the way up at $37,000, right? So that's even seems like it's a world away as well. So I do think that in general, this choppy market behavior where we kind of go up and down and sideways is likely going to last for a while. Especially just looking at prior bear markets. And even when you get to the end of a bear market, you then tend to go sideways for quite a while before you'll actually see a sustained push to new all-time highs. So with all that in mind, I do think it's worthwhile to keep an eye not only on some of these shorter-term moving averages, but also those longer-term moving averages like that 200-week moving average. And to remember that, we've never spent a lot of time testing as resistance before, right? It's more or less just always been support in a bear market. So now that we're actually below it, it's probably worth watching to see, can it actually get back above the 200-week moving average and hold it as support? Because, I mean, this is, and in fact, this move here took us almost down to the 300-week moving average. Forget about the 200-week, right? This move here almost took us down to the 300-week moving average, which is actually, in fact, where we wicked to back in, back in March of 2020. So I would keep an eye mostly on, in this rally, I would keep an eye, continuously keep that eye on the Bitcoin dominance, see if it moves higher. If it does, I think that's a good sign. Not to say that, we only want Bitcoin to move up, but it's a good sign in terms of future altcoin accumulation, or it's a good sign just in terms of seeing the market really focus back on more so the blue chips, which is normally what happens during crypto winters and bear markets. And then later on, as you get into the bull market, some more speculative plays tend to give higher returns. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Oh, and I also wanted to mention that the other thing that we sometimes look at, of course, is the Bitcoin dominance, but where you're actually looking at it with respect to stable coins. Okay. And we've talked about this a little bit. Here we're including stable coins. Here we're not including stable coins. This is a 3-day moving average just to smooth it out a little bit. And you can see really that the stable coins without stable coins, the dominance has already seen that breakout, and it's already potentially putting in that, again, just a higher low. So I think, again, I think a lot of signs point towards the Bitcoin dominance going higher. I know that's not a popular theory, and it's drawn me a lot of criticism over the last several months. But it is something that I will continue to look for over the coming months. And then once we see that move, or that theoretical move to a higher Bitcoin dominance, then I do think at that point altcoins will become a lot more attractive. So again, if you guys like the content, remember to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and if you want access to Into the Cryptoverse Premium, we do have the sale still going on, so check it out, intothecryptoverse.com. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.